All right, we are in the super fun activity of exploring various aspects of toxic relationships. This was spurred by a question that one of my teenagers in youth group asked me a number of years ago. How do I identify and get out of toxic relationships without being the bad guy? And so before we know how to get out of them, we need to realize what are elements of poison, what are sinful, toxic elements in a relationship. And we are exploring Proverbs chapter 20 because there are 6 excellent warnings in Proverbs chapter 20. Those who their behavior in relationships are sinful, they are toxic, they are poisonous, and they've formed the acronym MAD gas. So yesterday we talked about the M of MAD gas, the manipulator. Today we're going to discuss the first A, and that is the addict. In Proverbs chapter 20, verse 1, it says, "Wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler, and whoever is led astray by it is not wise." You know, in the time that these Proverbs were written, you didn't have heroin, you didn't have cocaine, you had wine and strong drink. And even though in some senses in the Bible, wine would be talked about as a good thing and a gift from God, it was also recognized that these things could be used out of bounds. They could be used beyond their usefulness, and some people became very addicted to them and wrecked their lives, foolish behavior. Now we can add, as time's gone on, we could add to that list, that an addict now can be hooked by all kinds of alcoholic beverages, can be hooked by various types of drugs. Our phones have opened up a whole new level of addiction, of things that our brains maybe are already kind of wired to be interested in, but never to the level that we have access to. So pornography, social media, the gambling at this point, the prevalence of especially like online and sports gambling, I think is really going to wreck some people's lives as they get hooked greater and greater. To the addict, people stop becoming people and start becoming a means to an end. This is why you have to be so careful. It's easiest to see, I think, sometimes in somebody that's potentially like a heroin addict or a drug addict. I'm from West Virginia. Our area was ravaged by the opioid epidemic, and drugs will make somebody into a different person. And a lot of times what they'll do is they will make it to where they stop seeing the humanity of other people. Now, like if you are involved with an addict, you stop being a person and you just start being a pathway for them to get their next fix. And I see that this same thing happens not just in drugs. I see that this is a great description of pornography. Why is pornography so dangerous? Because it takes sexuality, which was supposed to happen in a closed, intimate relationship between a husband and wife, and it removes all of the intimacy from it, and it just becomes a commodity. And I've talked to person after person who goes into a deep addiction in pornography, and they cease to be able to look like, let's say if it's a male, they cease to be able to look at females like as full females. They are just body parts. They are means to an end. And so we have to be careful. But I think the same thing at this point with a lot of the social media algorithms, they're creating addiction where you stop realizing that people are people with flaws, people are people with hopes and dreams and ambitions, and you can become so cruel to yourself and you can become cruel to others. And so we need to be careful when we recognize addiction first in ourselves that we've got to get help. Your addiction thrives in isolation, and you don't want to be isolated. You're going to have to call out to God for help, but you're also going to have to call out to people for help, and you're going to have to change your habits and your pathways. It's going to be a lot of work, but there's no easy. If you're an addict, there's no easy in front of you. Staying in your addiction is absolutely destructive, but getting freedom and help is still going to be hard, but it's a good hard. But what happens if you find yourself in relationship with an addict? You need to distance. You need to have firm boundaries. Ladies, if you find out that your boyfriend is addicted to pornography, I would say you need to end that relationship. Let them master self-control without you being in the picture, because you don't want to be a commodity. And I cannot tell you how many people that I know who have thought that, okay, somebody's addicted to pornography, but we'll get married and that will solve it. It doesn't solve it. The addiction goes into the marriage. You have to take addiction seriously. Addiction has its roots in sin, but it also has its roots a lot of times in the way our body's wired. So there's a spiritual aspect and there's a physical aspect involved. And if you find yourself connected to somebody in addiction, you have to have firm boundaries. You have to speak truth. You have to not play into their game. And you might have to cut off relationship until they're willing to address their addiction. This is hard, but this is the way of life. Addiction will make nearly any relationship toxic. So be wise, be aware, and be shrewd in your own life. Be willing to open up your life to other people so that you are not caught in the traps of addiction. Isn't that exciting? That's just 2 of the 6 aspects of toxic relationships we're going to talk about. Beware of the addict and beware of your own addictions. Speak out, get help. The Lord wants you healed and free, and he will do that. So I'll talk to you tomorrow. I got more to share with you.